All right, welcome to the Snyder Report podcast. I am your host, Gary Snyder. Before we get to our guest today, which you can kind of see over there, maybe it's over there, I don't know. It all depends on where they put it when we edit this out. But before we get to our guest, we need to thank our sponsors, Robin Winston. Robin has been a great sponsor of the newsletter, which now goes out to over 100,000 Hoosiers daily. And then we also have, he's a great sponsor, got this podcast kicked off. So thank you, Robin Winston. And then we cannot forget about former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson. Her book, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America, is out, and you can get those anywhere you buy your books. Joining me today is State Representative Greg Porter. Greg, welcome to the Snyder Report.
Hi, how are you? Great to be with you.
I am doing great. How are things going down in Indy?
Things are pretty traumatic right now as we could move toward the last 6 or 7 days of this General Assembly, the first half of it.
You know, and I think the breaking news out of yesterday was that Joe Biden's inflation killed Indiana's budget forecast.
Yeah, that was a joke of the day. That was expounded by, I guess, the governor of the state of Indiana, the governor of the state of Indiana for a few.
Well, let me ask you this, because those numbers, the budget forecasts came in showing almost a $2 billion shortfall over the next budget cycle. Did anyone see this coming at all?
Well, yes, some of us did see this coming. We were very cautious about it. Even in November, December of last year, when we got the information, we knew over the last two or three budget cycles, we have, as Democrats, and I in particular, along with my team, have talked about we need to look at the budget over not a 2-year period, but a 4-year period. And during that time when we were flush with money, the money was that one-time dollars that came from the pandemic. And then when we had sales tax that went up, it had an influx of sales tax because people were spending the money to live, Gary. We knew that that was not sustainable. And so we really was trying to figure it out and give my colleagues that information over the next 2 to 3 years. But they did not hear to us because I guess Republican ice is colder than Democrat ice.
You know, when you're a supermajority, you really don't have to listen to anybody but yourself, I guess.
That is absolutely true. They pretend to listen to us. They pretend to embrace us. I mean, we'll get a little bit. We get like an old Brill cream, a little dab of do you, that type of stuff. But other than that, we're not relevant.
Now, you're going old school with the Brill cream.
Yeah, I know. It just came to my head. And as you can see, I have a sunroof, so, the Brill cream won't do me any darn good.
Just let me ask you this question, because the budget forecast is looking forward. And last time I checked, Mike Braun was governor and Donald Trump is president. But for the governor to blame Joe Biden for Indiana's economic turbulence, if you will, what do you have to say to that?
Well, he's living in a fishbowl. I think, he subscribes to what's happened at the national level. Look, when the economy is doing very well in December, and then you have a transition of quote unquote new leadership or dictatorship, how you want to frame it.
We'll go with dictatorship.
Okay, dictatorship. It changed. So, I mean, Biden, things were flourishing, people were doing well, and then now all of a sudden, with the tariffs and the uncertainty and the 2025 plan, and people begin to really realize what that really meant in regards to economics. And so things change and things begin to go south. And I mean, just think about it. I mean, a $2 billion, we had $2.7 billion surplus. And that's what we had. And now we're running $2 billion below where we are. So we're looking at $400 million or $200 million if we have to take care of all our obligations. But the original question, did we see it coming? Yes, because instead of bonding, every time they do the budget, we say they talk about this being the best budget they've ever had, a budget of opportunity, a budget that brings more people to the state, and a AAA bonding and a balanced budget. However, when you look at it in another perspective, it might be from their window a balanced budget. However, if you have AAA bonding, why would you pay for everything in cash? Why would you take $1.7 billion and pay cash for a prison up in Westfield? All the capital projects were about $900 million, Gary, for universities, capital projects for universities. They pay cash for that. The LEAP project, and we don't really talk about how much money was spent on the LEAP project, hundreds of millions of dollars on the LEAP project, and we're trying to bring people there. We could have bonded that. Mm-hmm. And they said we didn't want to bond because the bonding was too high. Well, you can refinance bonds. So now what you essentially have, you probably have almost $2.5 to $3 billion that we could have bonded. And then with the situation, things changing, now they might have been 7 or 8% at that time. Now they're down to 3 or 4%. You could have refinanced those bonding. So they just want to pay cash for everything. And then we turned around and gave a bunch of money to the turf, to teacher retirement fund, kept buying that down. So, I mean, we raised those questions and concerns all the way along. So, I mean, that's just a fluid snapshot on what we have advocated as Democrats, but where it was turned down by the Republicans.
Well, I did notice that you left out a helipad for the governor's personal residence and 2 luxury SUVs. So
Yeah. Well, taxpayers have and will pay for those. I mean, the the SUVs of that, that's about what $200,000 for those, and the helipads are about $170,000. Let's see if that helipad continues to move forward. I'm quite sure he has a lot of space, and he can do it. I mean, he can use it as a write off as a business personal property, something like that. He get a break on that through Senate Bill 1, which gives all small businesses more of a break than the real residents that need a break, the senior. So he should be able to do that, build that up, and just write it off as a business personal property.
now I had your collaborators, if you will, on the Republican side yelling at me today because I called this the Mike Braun Indiana Republican budget shortfall. And I'm like, well, why isn't it that? Because they are in a supermajority. They've been in a supermajority. They don't have to include Democrats at all. So this is all Republicans. They broke it. They own it. Am I too far off there?
Bullseye. Okay, bullseye. I mean, they have been in control in majority for the last 15 years. I think we might have voted, some of us voted for one budget, and that was because we were flush with money. And that was because of the $3.8 billion we got from Biden, okay, back in the day. So they own this. I mean, that's all there's to it. So if they can say it's Biden, I mean,
they're trying to blame you. They're trying to blame you.
Yeah. Well, they can. I mean, I have big shoulders. I play football. So they can blame me all they want. But the reality is, I didn't vote for your budgets for the last 6 or 8 terms, okay? I try to be helpful. I was trying to be pragmatic. We were trying to help you get through these in bond versus spending cash to have some reserves. This is what we did. We didn't come last biennium. We wound up with almost $3 billion. We didn't give 3 or 4 3 projects away at $50,000, $30,000, or $30,000 to go to projects up in Warsaw or Fort Wayne or down, on the river, or a couple other places. We didn't do that because we didn't vote for the budget. Let's move on from that. I mean, that's totally malarkey, shenanigans, or whatever, how you want to play. That's a monopoly conversation. So I'm not even entertaining that.
I'm not going to lie. I thought that since President Biden was gone, I would not hear malarkey anymore, but kudos to you.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure.
So when we take a look at what's going on, we have Trump's schizophrenic play with the tariffs. We see the stock market, I don't even know what you want to call it, tumbling, crashing. We now see a $2 billion shortfall in Indiana's budget. How does that, or how is that going to affect your constituents and Hoosiers in general?
Well, it's going to affect us in many ways. We're mandated to. We're only two things we're mandated to do in our Constitution: is that pass a budget and fund public education. Okay, so that's what we're mandated to do. So how will affect our constituents as what is going to happen with the schools? We will continue to fund schools at an adequate level. Or will they cut back the schools that we have larger class sizes, get rid of teachers, and have a disparity in regards to educational opportunities, which will permeate an achievement gap, which will be widening in regards to haves and have-nots. So those are some of the things that could happen with this budget. But when we talk about the budget, what are we going to do? We had a people's budget, Gary, that we propose a lot of things, including a $2 cigarette tax. And to them, it was laughable. But who's laughing now? So we know they're going to have to raise taxes. Senate Bill 1 gave all the breaks to businesses, did very little from homeowners, through the homestead issue, because you get the money in the left pocket and you have to spend it out of the right pocket. So, we know that things are very fluid. So when it comes down to it, we want to help. We want to figure out what we can help if they want us to. But I know, what they did not want to do is pass cigarette tax. And be mindful, Gary, on a couple of times, the House did pass cigarette tax.
Right.
And then the Senate foo-fooed it. And so it's interesting, we got to fight right now for a 13th check for our people that they have retired. They have put money, and the money is in a different pot, and they can't even get the money that's already there allocated for them for the Senate Republicans to release those dollars as a 13th check.
So when we take a look at this budget and the shortfall, are we going to see services cut back? Are we going to see tax increases? Are we still going to be able to give the businesses their big windfall while working people like me and you get left out in the cold? Or are they going to somehow raise money? I've seen a lot of talk this morning about legalizing marijuana and getting that tax. Is that something that's on the table this session now?
I think, Gary, everything is on the table right now. But we have to remember, if we legalize marijuana, how soon can you get it up and moving? Okay, it's going to take a couple of years for that to happen. So that is projecting down the road. When it comes to cigarette tax, if we increase cigarette tax by $2, that's $800 million. That's a pretty good chunk of taking away the deficit. And that can happen right away, July 1. So, and then the other issues that we have out there are also very important. So for us, we will just try to have to figure out how we can look at Senate Bill 1 and the impact of Senate Bill 1 realistically on us. But one thing, in the legislative process, we have to understand, even though Senate Bill 1 has been signed by the governor,
correct,
and we know it is not a very good bill for everybody, just for a few, whatever happens, they can put some provisions in House Bill 1001, which is the budget bill. It can become a trailer bill and rectify some of the things that have been harmful for lay people here in the state of Indiana.
Now, I know you have to get back into session here, but one last question for you. From where I'm setting up here in Huntington, Indiana, looking down there at Indianapolis, looking at social media, I don't think that I've seen Indiana Republicans in this much of a panic as I do right now. Am I too far off there?
Bullseye, you're on it again. You win again. You need to play the lottery. They are in a pickle, and they don't know what they're going to do. I'm going to go try to talk to Chairman of the House Ways and Means, Representative Chairman Thompson, and try to say, hey, okay, what's going on? What are you guys thinking? I know what I'm thinking. I know what, we're thinking. We've been thinking about this for a while because we knew this was coming. We, didn't know the numbers quite fact, a matter of fact numbers, whatever. But I knew my intuition told me this is not good by just looking at things that were happening on a monthly basis, a
Right.
downturn on a monthly basis. And when you have a president that's playing, roulette,
Russian roulette.
and
Yeah.
you don't know, are you having a president that is doing double dutch? When he's in, then he's out, then he's in, then he's out, then we're in and we're out. So anything can happen, and so the uncertainty is in negative is insurmountable right now.
Yeah, it seems to me like if Republicans would keep their eye on the ball instead of, maybe trying to, highlight ancillary things that really don't matter, like the two trans people that play sports in Indiana. They would have had their eye on the ball here a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they play into the social issues and to their base, whatever that base is. And I think that base is going to erode as time goes on because people are now beginning to see and understand the lack of leadership or lack of vision. Leadership is there, but the vision isn't there where it should be. And you're going to have to think outside the box. I mean, they do things to check a box, but they need to think outside the box when it comes to building this next budget over the next 2 to 4 years. Not just now, but over the next 2 to 4 years.
Before we let State Representative Gregory Porter go, we do again need to thank our sponsor. Robin Winston's been with us with the newsletter and the podcast from the start. Our newsletter now reaches over 100,000 every day in the state of Indiana. And former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson, her book, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America. Representative Porter, thank you very much for joining us today. And boy, good luck. You're going to need it. All right. Thank you. I'm Gary Snyder. This is the Snyder Report, and we are out.